would like to welcome you to this panel, Devices of Affective Surveillance. Today's panel follows the live stream of the conference, which particularly addresses this new system of organization that the Full Take Society introduces. So we're interested to explore and discuss how the constant aggregation and correlation of data enables this system to be predictive and at the same time preemptive, allowing new modes of regulation and control. Our panel is curated and will be moderated by Pinar Yoldas, and I would like to say a few words about Pinar. So Pinar is a cross-disciplinary artist and researcher who lives and works between Durham and Berlin. Pinar's research explores the collaborative potential between art and biological sciences at the age of the Anthropocene. Her work has been exhibited internationally. She's based at Duke University, where she pursues her PhD, at the Center for Cognitive Neuroscience and Media Arts and Sciences. She recently also published her book, An Ecosystem of Excess. Thank you. Please welcome Pinar and the panelists.
Hello. Thank you, everyone, for coming. And I'd also like to start by thanking the entire transmediale team. Daphne, thank you so much for your patience. Kim, Christopher, Daniela, Marcus, and all the other members whose names I'm blanking on right now. So, yeah, our title is Devices of Affective Surveillance, and we have, I'm very excited about this topic because it's actually what I'm studying for my dissertation at Duke University, and I'm also very excited and honored to have two guests, two theorists, Marie-Luise and Matteo Pasquinelli, with me today here. The first thing I have to do is, before I start a quick introduction to the subject, is to, introduce Marie-Luise and Matteo. So Marie-Luise is a professor of media and cultural studies at the Academy of Media Arts Cologne. Her visiting fellowships in the United States, United Kingdom, and she has visiting fellowships in the US, UK, Canada, and Australia. The focus of her research is on media technology, affect, and neuroscientific reformulations of desire, sexuality, and the moving body. Her most recent publications include Desire After Affect, and here's the book. It was published in 2014. Timing of Affect with Bernd Bösel and Michaela Ott, again 2014. Choreography, Media, Gender with Yvonne Harten and Carolyn Weber, 2013. And numerous articles in books, journals on the topic of affect, art, and media theory. And Professor Zielinski once named her the first professor of gender and media in Germany. So I wanted to note that as well. And Matteo, I met Matteo Pasquinelli in his work at the Anthropocene campus, I think 2 months ago. I was super impressed, and he's a philosopher. He's a MA from Bologna and PhD in London. He wrote the book Animal Spirits, a bestiary of the commons, published 2008, and edited the anthology titled Algorithms of Capital, among others. He lectures frequently at the intersection of political philosophy, media theory, and cognitive sciences. Together with Witzke Maas, he wrote the Manifesto of Urban Cannibalism in 2014, again here in Berlin. He co-curated the symposium, The Metabolism of the Social Brain. And his forthcoming anthology titled Augmented Intelligence and Its Traumas will be coming out from Maison Presse Lüneburg. So after these brief introductions, I have a question for you, the audience. Did you have any emotions today? Well, I mean, or did you look at your phone today? Yes. So personally, I started my day around 8:45, an hour later than my alarm clock. So my first emotion was like, WTF? I'm like, I have to go over my notes, etc. Followed by a collection of numerous emotions. I had a walk in this beautiful snowy landscape to Hakkawe, and I experienced this calm, peaceful feelings. And in the meantime, I was checking my phone constantly. So I hope that after this is kind of a question that I'd like you to think about throughout our conversations, because this panel is basically a glimpse at the future of affect and affective technologies, and we'll hopefully touch knowledge and power and augmented affect. So what I'm going to do as moderator is basically to introduce a couple theories of emotion, like really fast, from the field of neuroscience. So the definition of emotion will come from neuroscience, and we'll look at, you know, some of the people who have studied this and some of the theories or models they came up with. And next, I'll introduce some of the technologies that's in use right now. I'll show you some videos which I find pretty hilarious and nice. And then I'll introduce or I'll talk about some potential uses of these technologies, and we'll continue with Marie-Luise. So let's jump right in, theories of emotion. One of the very first theories and the most well-known theories is the William James, not Henry James, the writer, James Lange theory of emotion. And the basic premise of this theory is that physiological arousal instigates the experience of a specific emotion. Instead of feeling an emotion and subsequent physiological response, the theory proposes that the physiological change is primary, and the emotion is then experienced when the brain reacts to the information received via the body's nervous system. When it was first proposed, it was quite counterintuitive, because the way we experience emotion as human beings, because yeah, we all have emotions just like we have eyes and hands and like taste buds, and we think it works in a certain way. And this theory was quite counterintuitive and highly debated, and now it's kind of debunked. One example would be this bridge experiment, where the participants in the experiment were asked to pass through two types of bridges. One of them was a stone bridge, and the other one was made of ropes. And as they were walking this bridge in the middle, the researchers would come to them and ask them some questions. The participants were male. We'll go into the gender analytics later. And the researchers were female. And as the participants walked on the stone bridge, the researcher would come, like a potentially attractive female, ask some questions, and at the very end, ask the participant if he had any questions for her. And the key was that, if you have questions for me, will you please like take my email or my phone number and you can call me. So this happened in the stone bridge, where everything was quite stable and the stone was robust and there was no external thing happening. And the same experiment also happened in the rope bridge, where there was this shake because the rope bridge wasn't stable. And then they looked at the numbers of return calls from the two groups of participants, and people, or the male participants who were walking on the stone bridge, didn't actually call the researcher, but the ones who were interviewed in the rope bridge called the researcher to ask further questions. So this is an example of the James Lange theory. Why? Because apparently the heart rate and like this excitement that came from the bridge affected the person's perception of the researcher or her attractiveness. So yeah, you can also experience this in clubs and places like that. So the next one is the Cannon-Bard theory of emotion, and this also came as a reaction to the James Lange theory. And what they claim is that the physiological changes and subjective feeling of an emotion in response to a stimulus are separate and independent. Arousal does not have to occur before the emotion. So this theory also was an attempt to look into the neuroanatomy of emotion, basically focusing on the thalamic region in the brain. Then comes Antonio Damasio and his life-changing book, Descartes' Error. At least his book changed my life, because I was a teenager. I was 18 when I read this book, and I felt really relieved because I was troubled by this mind-body dichotomy, and Damasio totally like brought those two things together for me. And what he does in his book is he takes Phineas Gage, one of the most famous case studies in the history of neuroscience, and talks about how this patient's emotional behavior changed after brain trauma. So this is the reconstruction of Phineas Gage's brain and the rod that destroyed his orbitoprefrontal cortex. So this is Phineas Gage after the accident. Before the accident, he was a very well-respected, handsome, smart, intelligent leader in his community. He was leading a mining group, and they were basically using these rods and squeezing some gunpowder to make these holes in the mountains. And one day, one of his workers failed to accomplish his task, and he took the rod to show him how to, make this work. And there was an explosion, and this huge rod that he's holding literally entered his left eye and left from the right side of his brain, taking a huge chunk of his brain out. And everybody thought he was going to die, but he didn't. He lost his eye, and he also lost the connection between his emotions and making decisions. After this accident, the Phineas Gage, who was a well-respected, highly rational member of his community, lost control, and he just couldn't make any decisions any longer. And Damasio uses him to talk about the very fundamental connection between emotion and reason. And he claims that without emotions, feelings, or affect, it's impossible to make decisions. Since we don't have much time, I'm going to move on to Joseph Ledoux, who is another neuroscientist that does research on the connection between emotions and decision-making. And what he does is basically, in his book, Synaptic Self, and other books to follow, he talks about his research on amygdala. And amygdala is this this tiny part of the brain in the so-called limbic system. And it's responsible for the the fear response or emotional response under stress and stressful conditions. And Ledoux beautifully connects his studies to decision-making, talking about some patients whose amygdala was damaged, and then these patients, again, fail to make any decisions or function in the society. So here we come to Paul Ekman, who also, I guess, ignited the rise of affective computing in a way with his studies. And Ekman's emotion model is basically proposes a standardization of emotions. He bases his theory on Darwin and Darwin's book on man and expression of emotions. And he talks about 7 universal emotions: anger, disgust, contempt, fear, surprise, sadness, and happiness. And his findings and the fact that he focused on faces and standardized the face helped computer scientists a lot, because then they could form databases based on this model. So we'll talk about Ekman more, so I'm going to move on to some current research and the new findings in the field of neuroscience. This is from University of Aalto, and these are heat body maps that show where certain emotions are located in the body. So this is also interesting, because now the seat of emotion is not just the brain, but the entire body. And this is really recent research. And the next is tracking emotion and the devices of tracking. There are multiple ways. There are I'm talking about 7 ways, but there are more. Galvanic skin response, that is this peripheral nervous system's response to arousal. Gaze tracking. We have the saccadic eye movements that are we're constantly looking at the things even if we don't notice. Face tracking, which Ekman kind of initiated. Heart rate, bodily fluid samples, so hormone research, body heat, and speech, voice, or prosody. There's actually some studies that can tell, or some technologies that can tell if a woman talking to a boy is the mother of that child, just based on the voice. So some applications. This is the Q Center, released by Rosalind Picard and Affectiva when she was still working at Affectiva, because she left that company. And Q sensor is a combination of heart rate, body heat, temperature, and GSR. And Q sensor was invented to work with autistic children and their emotional response. And what it does is it can signal the emotional status of the wearer to a server, and then you get these like temporal maps of arousal and certain emotions. But the lab who created Q sensor had to stop working on this because they came up with another technology called Affective. And Affective is basically tracking faces and tracking face muscles based on the Paul Ekman faces to tell which emotions dominate that person at that moment. So I have to take you to Vimeo now because this video didn't work right before the presentation. So here we watch Emotion's promo video.
What if your devices could read your emotions and respond to them? Emotion is developing technology to do just that. Our industry-leading emotion-aware system will enable a revolution in device and application personalization. We're taking more pictures and videos than ever before. Imagine organizing this content by emotion, so your most memorable moments are easier to find. It works in real time too. Games and other entertainment can respond dynamically to maximize the player's engagement. You can even adapt your service to changes in the user's temperament, adding a new dimension to the user experience. The possibilities are endless. What will you do with emotion?
Yeah, what would you do without emotion? Okay, oops, sorry. So another company, and Paul Ekman is sitting in the board, I think, of this company, together with many other companies. It's called Real Eyes for the Big Brother. And its premise is know exactly what your audience is feeling. Emotional content multiplies effectiveness, and this is my favorite. The more people feel, the more they spend. And it's actually true because apparently emotional people, or how to say it, there are some people who lack emotions. So they suffer from apathy, and there are types of this, like sociopathy or psychopathy, like the favorite topic of Hollywood, right? And these people aren't good consumers because they won't be like registering advertisements. So this is another one of Realize.
Realize is the world's leading platform for measuring how people feel as they view video content. When people watch video at home or on the move, we collect their subconscious emotional responses by simply sharing their webcam. Test any demographic, anywhere in the world, and get insights from all of those responses in one simple dashboard. You can see, second by second, exactly how your audience feels about your video content. Whether it's a single video or entire campaign, you can view the highs and lows of your content's performance and compare this performance against your competitors, enabling you to make decisions that will drive results anywhere within the video's life cycle. It's what we call emotional intelligence.
And on their website, the website is beautiful. I suggest you take a look at it. They say, can you tell me how my customers are feeling? And they do. So the last one is Affectiva, and I mentioned Rosalind Picard, and Marie-Luise will talk about her as well. initiated by her, but now the CTO is El Kaloubi, an Egyptian female computer scientist who had to leave MIT Media Lab because her research group grew so big, she was literally asked to start her own company. And she has the biggest facial database in the world. They analyzed 2,400,000 faces, and it's growing because she's now working with the big moguls of advertising world. And this is their video. This is the last video I'm going to show.
We believe digital content and technology products are made better when they are informed by human emotions. At Affective, we quantify emotion to help the world accomplish this goal. We've built the most accurate automated facial coding system that exists today and can discern moment-by-moment emotional state using a webcam. This is the only neuroscience technique that can work online as participants emote in their natural environments. Any face, any place, any interface, in real time. Over the past 3 years, our software has processed more than 1 billion frames of face video of people watching advertisements and entertainment content in over 70 countries. This is the world's largest repository of emotional response to digital media. This research enables optimization, prediction, and evaluation. Optimization
I'll just
of
skip
format content
to the very
to
end.
quantify comedic value and dramatic engagement, including what happens during commercial pods. In the device world, our SDK enables detection of emotion on platforms such as Google Glass for applications like assistive technology and robotics. All this is done in a massively scalable way using our APIs to fuel big data analytics. How could you use emotion data to build a better product?
Yeah, how could you use emotion data to build a better product? And on the website, there is a test drive of their Affective, so I tried it, and they scanned my face, and there was this video of a puppy making friends with a horse, and then the puppy is taken away by the owners, and their friendship is, in danger, and the horse chases him down, etc. And you can see my valence. Valence is basically my attention and arousal levels just dipping exactly when the horse tries to save the dog or something. So it was successful in detecting me yawning, basically. And now I'm going to talk about 2 applications. They're not very speculative, actually. They're happening. This is a quote by the founder of Affective, and she talks about apps for mobile platforms that can push out funny content or inspiring content when sadness is detected. She also talks about reward-based apps where if, like advertising rewards company, for instance, is a term she uses, and it's business based on the positive moments you experience. So for instance, if you set a goal to run 3 miles and you run 3 miles, that's a moment. And if you set the alarm for 6 o'clock and you actually do get up, that's a moment. And these companies can monetize these moments and they sell them. Like Kleenex can send you a coupon when you get over a sad moment. I don't know why she gives the example of Kleenex, but I would definitely fail with this app this morning with the alarm. So, okay, this is a smart cart with smart handles, and again, it's a product that's being discussed and developed. It was in a think tank meeting, and these cards can also detect your heartbeat because you're holding the handles, etc., and it'll know when you stop and where you're looking, and your eating habits are then reported to your insurance company, or like the Smart Cup, smart workout equipment, which is already out there by Nike. And another thing El Kaloubi and her likes talk about is the emotion chip that will become a part of our mobile devices. So this emotion chip will be running silently on your gadget, and every time you look at your device, your facial impression will be recorded if you allow the device to do that. So devices will have to have this, just like they have GPS chips right now. And this is a data collecting bodysuit, which will record the heat in your body and then, like, you know, predict your emotions, etc. So we're seeing the glimmers of an emotion economy here. And I'll stop at this on this note, and I'll give the microphone to Marie-Luise, who will talk about affect more in detail, and Rosalind Picard.
Thank you very much, Pinar.